In this second video of the lesson walkthrough for Unit 5, Day 8, I'm going to show you the student work portion and walk through the answers and sort of explain them a bit with some content. So it picks this video picks up right after the part one video on the start of the independent work, which is just an explanation direction slide. So you've already done the model for students. They've seen you or the student facing video interacting with two posters and answering very similar questions. And now they're going to do that themselves for sets 2 to 6. Although you can divide up the sets however you want to work for you. There is a blue box on this slide. You can delete that or use it for something if you'd like to. And so the World War II propaganda set 2 is all about victory gardens and food rationing. You've got 4 different posters here, which focus, 3 of them focus heavily on rationing, and this first one focuses on growing your own food in a victory garden. This is going to be content that students aren't really necessarily going to get somewhere else. So use this slide as a chance to really reinforce these ideas for students when you're going over it with students. Point out strong answers. Of course, use student answers in your share outs. Have students share their answers out. If you're using a platform like Google Classroom or Pear Deck, then you can check student answers before having them share out, so you know that they're really strong. And I'm encouraging you and the students to try and get the vocabulary in there. Victory gardens, rationing. That's going to be vocabulary that's going to come up again in their study of American and world history. So it's valuable here. The question about symbols and images is pretty straightforward for this slide. The third question, again, I feel is very similar to the first question, but here's another place where you can go into more detail on victory gardens and rationing. Some of these are going to seem a little redundant, but again, this is, one of the only times students are going to see this information. And we know that this stuff is pretty relevant to their lives because at the beginning of the pandemic, victory gardens and rationing were both very relevant. And so students have seen these in their own lives. So it's a great place to go over it again. Okay, set 3 is all about enlisting in the military, although there is another slide here at the end about war bonds. And so this is a pretty straightforward objective, but I like that it addresses Air Force, Navy, and Army. You can also use the 4th slide to talk about the Tuskegee Airmen. The person in the photo is a member of the Tuskegee Airmen. So again, using the vocabulary of recruitment, of war bonds, of enlistment, and Uncle Sam, which is in one of these posters, try to work that into your responses and try to make sure students are using the vocabulary as they're analyzing these, because this is the place where they're going to get it. All right. Very similar to question 1, men could enlist, and when the country needed soldiers and sailors and Marines and airmen. All right, set 4. I love these posters, all about car sharing or ride sharing or carpooling, as most people call it today. It's something that kids often don't think about. This is a great place to talk about symbolism. So, using carpooling, car sharing, ride sharing vocabulary, but also, make sure students have identified Hitler in the passenger seat here. It's great symbolism in these photos of, if you don't do your part, you are helping the Nazis, and it's going to come up again in a later set as well. Again, question 3 is very similar to question 1. But in this one, you can make sure to revisit that ride sharing wasn't just about saving fuel, although sometimes students will have a little bit of trouble making that connection. It was also about saving the necessities for cars, such as rubber, which was not as common in 1940s as it is now. So rubber and the metals necessary for cars. So this is another place to talk about rationing, which might not be an obvious connection for students to make. Set 5 is all about women in the workforce and joining the military. You've got a lot of great content to support into these slides here, because not only do you have women filling in industrial jobs that were left by men to go fight in the war, but you also have women enlisting in the military services. And then you have a lot of conversations here around, gender roles and expectations of their husbands and what happened when the men came back from war. Really rich conversations can come from this. So what the posters are trying to do, get women to sign up for industrial work, but also enlist in the military. It's showing a lot of ways women are involved. It also, shows men at war so that women will understand what the importance is here. And on this question, according to these posters, how could American civilians change the course of war? This is a great place to talk about, women in the workforce. Definitely need to be going into more of what women were doing in World War II, but mentioning the WACs, the WAVES, the WASPs, mentioning the nursing jobs, the administrative jobs, the non-combat duty, but still incredibly vital to the success of the war front positions that women were filling can be added into this slide. And then this is the last propaganda set, which is all about victory bonds and war bonds, which were also mentioned in World War I with Liberty bonds. This is a great slide set for symbolism. You've got the swastika shadow over the children. You've got the swastika hand reaching out for the baby and the wife. The soldier at war, and Uncle Sam here. So again, a lot of places for students to find symbolism and dig into what they mean. Bring in those vocabulary words of Axis powers, swastikas, war bonds, and also, this is a great place to really kind of dig into war bonds, understanding what they were, how they worked, why the country was so made so many posters supporting or encouraging people to buy them. And that's it. So when you get to the end, it's going to be a wrap up question. Students have different answers to these, but this is one chance for students to take a look at all the posters and think of what's the one that is most effective, which can be a great way for them to synthesize everything that they've seen.